The orbital station of Virelia 9 hung like a jewel against the black velvet of space, its crystalline spires catching the light of a nearby binary star. Within the colossal council chamber, delegates of countless species shifted in their seats, their eyes reflecting iridescent colors that human optics could barely distinguish. It was the heart of galactic governance, a place where decisions could spark war or forge peace. Today, it would witness something no species had anticipated: the presence of humans, arriving with audacity bordering on arrogance. Captain Ilara Vaz adjusted her uniform as the transport shuttle glided into the docking bay. She had anticipated tension. Even now, the low hum of alien murmurs brushed against her ears. Her team, Rami, the intelligence officer, Iona, the tech specialist, Lia, the diplomat, moved with quiet confidence behind her. Each carried the calm assurance of those accustomed to danger and responsibility. Captain, sensors indicate 36 different life forms in the chamber already, Rami said, his voice low. Most appear skeptical. Ilara allowed herself a brief smile. Skepticism is expected. We're the anomaly today, Rami. Let them underestimate us. It's always worked to our advantage. The doors opened, revealing the council chamber. Massive, crystalline arches soared above them, seemingly alive with energy pulses. Holographic projections of star systems rotated lazily in the center, each representing a member civilization. Alien delegates turned their heads in unison, a collective gesture of curiosity and caution. Some whispered to their neighbors, others simply stared. Supreme Delegate Krillian Threx was already seated at the central dais. His form was humanoid, yet every feature carried the precision of a predator engineered for command. Long, articulated fingers rested on the desk, and his eyes glimmered like molten metal. He leaned forward, the subtle inclination radiating authority. Humans! Threx's voice resonated through the chamber, modulated to a pitch most species found disconcerting. Your arrival is unexpected. The Council has received reports regarding your fleet. I hope your intentions are as controlled as your audacity appears. Ilara stepped forward. Delegate Threx, Council members, she began, her tone calm but firm. Humanity seeks not confrontation, but coexistence. Our fleets exist to protect our colonies, to deter aggression, and to ensure our survival in a galaxy that is not always kind. Her words drew murmurs. Some delegates shifted uneasily, while others studied her with calculated interest. She sensed the tension coiling tighter around the chamber. Threx's gaze hardened. Reports suggest otherwise. Intelligence indicates your species possesses over 500,000 Dreadnought-class vessels. You do not merely protect, you provoke. A ripple of disbelief passed through the chamber. Even some of the more aggressive species exchanged glances that spoke volumes. 500,000 Dreadnoughts. No one had ever amassed such a fleet without triggering immediate scrutiny. Ilara inclined her head slightly, letting the silence linger. The Council's information is partially correct. We possess a fleet of considerable size, yes. But every ship has been constructed for defense, not conquest. Humanity is survival-driven, aggression is unnecessary and counterproductive. Our fleets exist to safeguard, not dominate. Threx's expression remained unreadable, but a flicker of irritation passed through his metallic eyes. You understand, Captain, that such numbers cannot exist without consequence. The Council cannot ignore them. You threaten the balance of power across multiple systems. I understand entirely, Ilara replied. And we do not ask for trust. We ask only for dialogue. Let us demonstrate our intentions and capabilities without resorting to hostility. A sharp, chittering laugh echoed from a delegate seated near the outer ring of the chamber. One of the Severans, a species of angular exoskeletal beings, leaned forward. Dialogue? With 500,000 warships hidden in your docks. You humans play a dangerous game. Ilara's gaze met the Severan's without hesitation. Dangerous, perhaps. Reckless? Only if we fail to act with prudence. But so far, prudence has guided every step. That is the difference between survival and chaos, Delegate. Rami's fingers brushed against his tablet. Captain, Council sensors are already analyzing our fleet's signature. They will detect our strategy if we choose to reveal it. Then let them analyze, Elara said. They will find innovation, not malice. Threx rose, his presence suddenly dominating the room. Captain Voss, the Council will convene to determine the appropriate course of action regarding your fleet. Any misstep, any indication that humans intend otherwise than stated, and we cannot guarantee restraint. I expect no less, Elara replied, steady and composed. But remember this, humanity does not threaten without cause, and we do not retreat without reason. Threats are understood and mitigated, not ignored. If the Council intends dialogue, let it be productive. If it intends coercion, let it be known we will act decisively to defend our people. For a moment, silence fell across the chamber. The weight of her words seemed to linger in the energy-charged air. Delegates exchanged glances, some wary, others intrigued. For the first time, the myth of human recklessness was confronted by reality. They were not reckless. They were deliberate, adaptable, and clever. Finally, Threx inclined his head, a subtle acknowledgement of her resolve. Very well, Captain Voss. The Council will deliberate. Your fleet's presence is noted. Do not mistake patience for weakness. Elara nodded, signaling to her team to follow her toward the exit. As they left the chamber, the low hum of alien voices whispered in speculation. Outside, the station's observation deck offered a view of the human fleet sprawled across the orbit of their home system, the distant stars glinting off thousands of dreadnought hulls. Elara allowed herself a small, private smile. Humanity's journey had always been measured in risk and ingenuity. Today, they had announced themselves to the galaxy, not with aggression, but with certainty. The Council had been warned. And the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The Council chamber was quieter than usual when Captain Elara Voss returned for the deliberations. Delegates lingered in clusters, their alien forms angled toward one another, exchanging rapid-fire communication that humans could only partially interpret. Every flicker of color, every shift of limb, conveyed suspicion, curiosity, or calculated evaluation. Elara and her team took their assigned positions. Lia, poised and composed, began distributing translated briefing packets to delegates who had requested them. Iona tapped quietly at a terminal, running counter-surveillance algorithms and monitoring data feeds. Rami scanned the room, noting subtle changes in posture, eye color shifts, and other microsignals that indicated tension. Threx sat at the dais, the embodiment of controlled authority. His eyes, molten metal bright, followed every movement with unsettling precision. Captain Voss, he said, voice calm yet laden with accusation. The Council has convened to address the magnitude of your fleet. The question is simple. Why does humanity require over 500,000 dreadnoughts? Elara stepped forward, hands clasped lightly. Delegate Threx, Council members, our fleets are not instruments of conquest. Humanity's colonies span thousands of star systems. Each vessel is a safeguard against natural disasters, rogue factions, and the unpredictable consequences of interstellar expansion. We do not threaten. We deter. A Severan delegate clicked sharply, the sound echoing unnaturally in the chamber. Deterrence with dreadnoughts? Your species hides strength behind words. How can we believe your restraint? Because the alternative is unsustainable, Elara replied. Humanity does not survive by bluff alone. Our record demonstrates measured action. Aggression weakens, caution preserves. That is the principle behind our fleets. Murmurs coursed through the chamber. Some delegates leaned forward, intrigued, others whispered warnings to their neighbors. Threx's fingers drummed rhythmically on the desk. Measured action? He said. Captain, you speak of restraint while hiding the largest fleet any species has ever assembled. That is not prudence. That is provocation. Rami's subtle vibration alerted Elara to movement near the outer perimeter. One of the radical factions, a delegation of Morhid engineers, had attempted unauthorized access to a Council data node. Their intent was clear, to probe human fleet schematics. Captain, Rami whispered, we have interference. Someone is trying to hack our feeds. Elara's gaze swept the room, serene but unyielding. Do nothing rash. Iona? I've isolated the intrusion and rerouted it to a decoy, Iona replied. Her fingers moved across the console, activating virtual barriers and encryptions layered deep within the human systems. They won't trace our real fleet signatures. Elara nodded. Let them see what they expect. Perception is part of strategy. Threx's attention snapped to her. Captain Voss, the Council will not tolerate deception. Any subterfuge could be interpreted as hostile intent. Delegate Threx, she said, meeting his gaze steadily. Intelligence and security are not deception, they are survival. You will find no intent to harm in our actions, only preparedness. The debate continued, voices overlapping as factions argued. Some spoke of immediate sanctions or preemptive strikes. Others advocated diplomacy, urging caution before alienating a species capable of tipping galactic balance. Captain, a voice interjected from a moderate faction. If humanity's fleet exists purely for defense, perhaps a demonstration of coordination and strategy would clarify your position. Elara allowed a faint smile. A demonstration is exactly what we planned. She turned to her team. Prepare the holographic projection. Let them see order and precision, not chaos. The chamber's central floor glowed as holographic projectors activated. A three-dimensional simulation of a star system appeared, populated by scaled models of human dreadnoughts. Delegates leaned forward, some tilting their heads in disbelief. Observe, Elara said. Every vessel operates in a coordinated network. AI-assisted navigation, modular weapon systems, self-repair protocols. None act without oversight or purpose. Each serves to protect colonies and maintain stability. The projection shifted, showing simulated attacks from hypothetical aggressors. The fleet responded seamlessly, adaptive, precise, and efficient. Alien delegates whispered, their disbelief giving way to cautious respect. Threx's gaze narrowed. Impressive. But simulations are controlled. Real engagement is unpredictable. Can humanity maintain this restraint under real pressure? Elara's voice was steady, tinged with quiet conviction. We do not need to prove aggression to survive. Humanity thrives on adaptability and foresight. Our fleets exist to prevent conflict, not to escalate it. Restraint is not weakness, it is intelligence. A sharp chittering laugh came from the Severin delegate again. Intelligence or audacity? You tread a line that could provoke the entire council. Perhaps, Elara admitted, but audacity without purpose is reckless. Ours has direction. Ours has reason. That is the difference. For a tense moment, silence settled across the chamber. Then, quietly, some delegates began nodding, sharing glances that suggested grudging acknowledgement. Even within the radical faction, unease flickered, their assumptions about human recklessness challenged by reality. Rami tapped Elara's shoulder subtly. Captain, sensors detect subtle calms among radical delegates. They may escalate covertly if we don't maintain vigilance. Noted, Elara replied. We will stay ahead, but we must remain calm. Panic is contagious, strategy is decisive. Threx rose, the movement commanding attention. Captain Voss, the Council will deliberate. Your fleet, your intentions, your restraint, all will be considered. Understand this, patience is temporary. Misstep or miscommunication, and the consequences will be irreversible. Elara inclined her head. I understand, Delegate Threx. And I assure you, humanity does not step without purpose. Let deliberation proceed. The galaxy will observe our actions, not our words alone. As the council doors closed behind them, Elara allowed herself a brief exhale. The chamber's weight of expectation lingered in her mind. Humanity's audacity had been revealed, their capability hinted at, yet the real test was only beginning. Outside, the orbital decks offered a panoramic view of the human fleet, stretching across the system in disciplined formation. Each ship glinted with silent power. Elara's eyes swept the vast armada, a tangible reminder that human ingenuity was not confined to speeches or simulations. It was reality, and the galaxy would have to acknowledge it. She turned to her team. We've made our position clear. Now we watch. Now we wait. But be ready, diplomacy is a game, and humans play to win. The stars beyond Virelia 9 twinkled coldly, indifferent, yet in that darkness, humanity's presence burned bright. Not reckless, not violent, deliberate, prepared, and unshakable. The Council had seen the first ripple of human power. The wave was coming, and no one could fully predict its reach. The Council's deliberations had ended, but the atmosphere remained charged. In the observation chamber, massive viewing windows framed the black expanse of space, dotted with distant stars. Elara stood before the human delegation, her reflection faint against the glass, while beyond it, their fleet lay in disciplined formation, a living testament to precision and power. Captain, Rami murmured, eyes scanning multiple data feeds. Delegates are beginning to gather. Most are curious, a few hostile, and one, or two, are plotting to test us. Elara nodded. Let them test the simulations first. Reality speaks louder than speculation. Iona activated the holographic interface. A three-dimensional projection of a contested star system materialized above the observation deck, the scale precise down to each planetary orbit. Thousands of dreadnoughts, frigates, and support vessels appeared in formation, their movements synchronized with calculated precision. Observe. Elara began, her voice steady. The fleet operates as a network, not as individual units. Coordination, adaptive AI protocols, and modular systems allow each ship to respond to multiple threats simultaneously. This is the human approach: efficiency, precision, and foresight. Delegates leaned closer, their forms contorting in fascination. Even the Severans, usually dismissive, tilted their heads in curiosity. One delegate, an angular being from the Xylar Dominion, clicked sharply. Your simulations are impressive, Captain Voss, but simulations are controlled environments. Real combat is chaotic. Can humanity maintain this coordination under actual pressure? Elara's gaze was unwavering. We are not naive about chaos. Each vessel is equipped with self-repair systems, autonomous threat analysis, and layered command redundancy. Our strength lies not in numbers alone, but in adaptability and strategic cohesion. Resilience, not recklessness, defines us. The hologram shifted, depicting a simulated ambush. Enemy vessels, aggressive proxies representing the galaxy's most feared war machines, approached rapidly. In response, human dreadnoughts repositioned with fluidity, adjusting formations, deploying countermeasures, and neutralizing threats without collisions or misfires. A low murmur spread through the observation chamber. Delegates whispered among themselves, visibly unsettled by the display of precision and coordination. Threx stepped forward, his presence commanding the room. Captain Voss, I must question your assertion of restraint. You claim defense, yet your fleets demonstrate offensive capability of unparalleled scale. Are we to believe these weapons would never be turned against a council member? Elara allowed a brief pause, letting the weight of the projection and the fleet's disciplined movements speak for themselves. Delegate Threx, any fleet can destroy, ours chooses not to. Capability does not equate to intent. Our purpose is survival, our mission is protection. That is why we have invested in precision, AI oversight, and contingency protocols, to avoid unnecessary conflict. We are humans. We calculate risk, we learn, and we adapt. Threats are neutralized only to preserve life, not to dominate. Rami tapped a screen discreetly. Captain, sensors indicate subtle subcommunications among some delegates. They're debating whether this demonstration challenges their assumptions of human recklessness. Elara's lips curved slightly. Good. Let them reassess. They should understand that underestimation is humanity's disadvantage to them, not to us. Then, from the rear of the chamber, a low hiss of activity caught her attention. The Mortid faction, a radical group, attempted to access the holographic control interface remotely. Their intent was obvious. They sought to manipulate the simulation, to expose flaws or provoke errors. Rami Iona, she said calmly. Divert their signal into a decoy network. Do not disrupt their devices directly. Let them see what they expect. Understood. Iona responded, fingers flying over her console. Streams of counterdata rippled across the network, isolating the intrusion and feeding false signals back to the Morthids. Elara turned back to the delegates, unflinching. You see, nothing has faltered. The fleet operates seamlessly despite attempts at interference. That is the human edge, not just our ships, but our ingenuity, our foresight, and our ability to adapt under pressure. Threx's eyes narrowed. You are clever, Captain Voss. But cleverness alone cannot prevent miscalculations. Intelligence and arrogance often walk hand in hand. Elara met his gaze squarely. Perhaps. But intelligence guided by caution, experience, and purpose is not arrogance, it is survival. Humanity has endured because we plan, adapt, and act decisively. That is why we possess this fleet, and why we will never wield it without cause. A sudden hush fell over the chamber. The radical factions had quieted, the moderate and conservative delegates leaning forward, reassessing the humans' capacity for restraint. Even Threx's rigid posture suggested unease, his calculation visibly challenged. A Severan delegate finally spoke, its clicking tone sharp. You humans, you operate beyond predictability. That is disconcerting, but not necessarily dangerous, yet. Elara allowed the acknowledgement to hang in the air, unaccompanied by reply. Let them digest the implications. Captain, Rami said, voice low. Some factions are beginning to discuss contingency plans, citing restraint but also warning against overconfidence. We may see formal challenges soon. Then we are on schedule. Elara replied, voice calm but firm. Demonstration done. Perception adjusted. Now we prepare for dialogue. The Council may respect our ingenuity, but it will not bow easily. Our task is to assert not dominance, but undeniable competence. As the delegates departed the observation chamber, murmurs of analysis and debate followed them. The room was alive with speculation, respect begrudgingly growing amid lingering suspicion. The human fleet outside remained silent yet formidable, a tangible backdrop to the unfolding political drama. Elara turned to her team. This demonstration is only the beginning. They've seen our precision, our coordination, and our adaptability. Next comes the real test, convincing them that restraint is our principle, not weakness. Iona glanced at the hologram. They'll talk about this demonstration for decades. Few species could manage coordination at this scale without errors. Rami added. And fewer would remain calm under scrutiny. Humans appeared to handle both effortlessly. Elara's gaze swept the fleet, the distant stars glinting off thousands of hulls. We do not underestimate the galaxy. But neither do we fear it unnecessarily. Let them debate among themselves. We prepare, we adapt, and we endure. That is what makes humans, humans. For the first time, even Threx's rigid demeanor could not obscure a flicker of recognition. Humanity had revealed more than firepower, they had revealed ingenuity, composure, and an unflinching commitment to their principles. The ripple of respect began subtly, yet unmistakably. Outside, the stars remained indifferent, but humanity's presence burned like a beacon. In that calculated display of precision and strategy, the Council glimpsed the truth: these humans were not reckless. They were deliberate, formidable, and undeniably alive with the edge of possibility. The galaxy had witnessed the first unmistakable proof of human adaptability. The challenge had shifted. It was no longer just the Council judging humanity. It was humanity defining its place in the galaxy. The Council chamber pulsed with quiet tension as delegates gathered once more. Holographic panels hovered above, displaying star systems, fleet deployments, and intelligence reports. Elara Voss stood at the center of the human delegation, calm but resolute. The air was thick with anticipation. Today, words would decide humanity's fate in the galaxy. Supreme Delegate Krillian Threx rose first. His form rigid, his voice a low, metallic cadence. Captain Voss, the Council has deliberated. Your fleet's size, capability, and coordination are undeniable. Yet questions remain. Are humans a species of restraint, or one waiting for the opportune moment to assert dominance? Alara met his gaze steadily. Delegate Threx, the question misunderstands humanity. We act not from ambition for power, but from necessity for survival. Our fleets exist to deter, to protect, to adapt, not to conquer. Our strength is a tool, not a threat. A delegate from the Vortac coalition interjected, limbs shifting nervously. Captain, simulations cannot prove morality. How can we trust that your fleets will not act impulsively under pressure? Alara took a measured breath. Trust is earned, not demanded. That is why we allow observation. That is why we operate transparently under scrutiny. Humanity is neither infallible nor reckless. Our strength lies in calculation, foresight, and adaptability. We wield power responsibly because we understand consequences. Threx's metallic eyes narrowed. And yet, the galaxy has seen civilizations with similar discipline fall into chaos. What guarantees humanity will not repeat such mistakes? Alara stepped forward, voice clear and unwavering. No guarantees exist in life, delegate. Only decisions, preparedness, and the will to act rightly. Humanity survives because we anticipate, learn, and correct. Weakness comes from inaction. Aggression comes from fear. We have neither. A murmur spread through the chamber. Even the radical factions of the council paused, weighing her words against the evidence of the fleet, the precise simulations, and the intelligence displayed in previous debates. Threx leaned forward, his fingers steepled. Then prove it. Demonstrate not your fleet's size, but your judgment, your restraint. Convince us that your actions reflect purpose, not impulse. Alara gestured to Iona, who activated a secondary holographic simulation. This one depicted a series of complex, high-risk scenarios. Hostile forces approached multiple human colonies simultaneously, challenging the fleet's coordination and decision-making. Each dreadnought responded with calm precision, neutralizing threats without collateral damage, rerouting resources to protect civilians, and maintaining formation integrity. The chamber fell silent. Delegates watched every maneuver, every strategic adaptation, every calculated response. It was no longer just power on display, it was judgment, intelligence, and ethical command. Finally, Threx's voice broke the silence. Remarkable. Precision, adaptability, foresight. Your fleets operate as a single mind, yet the decisions remain aligned with the preservation of life. Humans, it seems, combine strength with wisdom. Alara inclined her head. We are flawed, Delegate Threx. But we correct errors quickly and learn relentlessly. Humanity does not mistake strength for dominance. We wield it to survive and protect. A Vortac delegate, long skeptical, spoke, its limbs trembling slightly. Captain Voss, your people are unlike any we have known. They do not provoke, yet they cannot be ignored. We are impressed. Threx's eyes lingered on Alara, calculating. Then he spoke, his voice carrying reluctant respect. Captain, the Council acknowledges your fleet, your discipline, and your restraint. You have demonstrated both capability and purpose. Humanity will retain sovereignty over its forces, and the Council will recognize your colonies as autonomous entities. We will observe, but we will not interfere without cause. Alara's lips curved subtly. Acknowledged. And thank you? We seek not dominance, only coexistence and mutual respect. The galaxy thrives when intelligence and restraint guide action. A ripple of murmurs passed through the chamber. Delegates discussed quietly, shifting allegiances. Many were beginning to see humans not as a threat to balance, but as a species to be respected, if not admired. Rami leaned close to Alara. Captain, some factions still question long-term intent. But they are fewer. Your approach has clearly shifted perception. Alara nodded. Perception is not enough, Rami. Action and integrity matter most. Let us ensure our presence continues to prove that principle. Threx stood again, raising a hand. Let this session be recorded for the archives. Humanity has presented a model of restraint, strategic competence, and adaptability. The Council will adjust its policies accordingly. Take this as a warning and an acknowledgement: strength without purpose is perilous. Strength with judgment is formidable. Elara allowed a small smile, but kept her posture composed. Understood, Delegate Threx. Humanity will continue to demonstrate that judgment guides our power. As the Council dispersed, whispers of debate and cautious respect lingered. Delegates lingered near the exits, some discussing alliances, others reconsidering assumptions. The radical factions appeared subdued, their earlier attempts at provocation neutralized not by force, but by observation and strategy. Elara turned to her team. We've achieved recognition without coercion. That is the human way. But this is only the beginning. Observation, diplomacy, and restraint are tests we must continue to pass. The galaxy may respect our presence, but we must earn its trust continuously. Iona exhaled softly. The simulations alone have left many delegates reassessing their assumptions. Few could maintain such composure while under scrutiny. Rami nodded. And fewer would have countered interference so calmly. The message is clear: humans act with intelligence, adaptability, and foresight. Elara gazed through the observation deck at the human fleet stretched across the star system, every dreadnought gleaming against the void. We've proven capability, she said quietly. We've proven restraint. Now, we ensure humanity is remembered not as reckless, but as deliberate, adaptable, and unyielding. That is our edge. That is what makes us human. The Council had witnessed the first true measure of humanity, not in raw numbers, not in firepower, but in judgment, composure, and ingenuity. The delegates left with a new understanding: these humans were neither naive nor impulsive. They were deliberate, formidable, and defined by the clarity of their purpose. Elara allowed herself a moment to breathe. The weight of responsibility remained, but so did the quiet satisfaction of accomplishment. Humanity's place in the galaxy had been acknowledged. Their audacity, tempered by wisdom, had secured recognition, respect, and the right to exist on their terms. Threx's parting words echoed faintly in her mind. Strength with judgment is formidable. Yes. Humans had demonstrated exactly that. Not through intimidation, not through aggression, but through intelligence, adaptability, and the unwavering commitment to survive with principle. Outside, the stars stretched infinitely, indifferent yet illuminated by humanity's presence. For the first time, the galaxy understood the human edge, and it was not merely strength, but the capacity to wield it wisely.